My name is Aubrey Wortham. My daughter, Marlene Wortham, has Cobalamin C. She is 2 years old. We are from Texas. Our journey to diagnosis began shortly after birth. Marley was born via C-section at 37 weeks and 5 days. She had intrauterine growth restriction a couple of months before she was born, so we decided to take her a little bit early. And when she was born, we thought we had an average kiddo. We also have a 4-year-old daughter. Marley was very small. She was born 5 pounds and 12 ounces, but that was expected. Our other daughter was born at 6 pounds and 2 ounces. So we thought Marley was on the same track. And within 24 hours of our hospital stay, they came in to check her temperature, and she was showing up cold, like not a normal temperature. So the nurse kind of thought it was odd. We had really not had any reason to believe she wasn't going to be at a regular temperature. So they checked a different thermometer. They tried 3 different thermometers, thought they had broken them. And then we finally were like, okay, this is reality. For some reason, she's not maintaining body temperature, but she nursed great from the beginning. She latched immediately. And we kind of just started the journey of, okay, we have a small baby. She's very tiny, so doesn't have enough fat on her bones. They actually discharged us at 48 hours, and our pediatrician just had us come in a few days before turning a week old just to check her weight. She had lost some weight, a little bit more than average expected, and she had us come in every few days for about 2 weeks. We really thought she just needed to catch up, and she was doing that slowly, but wasn't gaining quick. At 2 weeks old, a geneticist from our children's hospital actually contacted our pediatrician and said, hey, you have a family. We think that she has some genetic testing that we should run. It's not emergent. She had an elevation at her second newborn screen, so her first heel prick at 24 hours didn't show concerns. The second one at 1 week old came back at 2 weeks old with a concern for, somewhere in this disorder realm. And we were going to take Marley the next morning, but she had really digressed that evening. About an hour after we got off the phone with our pediatrician, we had kept her warm for 2 weeks. We had her on a heating pad. We were doing all these things. She was still very responsive in those 2 weeks, and she had a decline within that hour. It was scary. She was almost becoming lifeless. We didn't feel emergent, but then we had this pressing urgency, and especially with that genetic call. So we ended up racing her to the hospital, and they walked us in immediately. They started running tests on her. Of course, they came in with a 2-week-old who they have no idea what's going on with her. So we ended up having to test for meningitis and go through all the standard protocol of coming in with a sick baby. That led us to getting admitted into the NICU, and a geneticist visited us shortly after getting admitted and pretty much explained her results on that newborn screen and just said, this is the realm of what we think she could have, but also this could be an anomaly. She didn't have a very strong presentation on that first screen, so we're gonna kind of navigate this as if we think she has a genetic disorder called Homocystinuria. It could be a combination with Methylmalonic Acidemia, but until we have labs to prove it, we can't say yes or no. Until you have genetic testing, you can't prove it. We're gonna go ahead and give her an injection of B12 hydroxycobalamin. And if she needs it, it's gonna save her life. If she doesn't need it, it's not gonna hurt her. So of course they started giving her meds. We took labs every so many hours, and that just began our initial diagnosis. It was a journey. We were there for 2 weeks. So she got her first injection of hydroxycobalamin at 3 days into our stay, so 2 weeks old and 3 days. And my husband and I knew within, I mean, I don't know if it was hours, we just immediately saw a change in Marley. It was like you have this lifeless body who we didn't even know she was sick. We thought she was just our 2-week-old. And it was like she came to life. And I will never forget that night. She had gained we were celebrating like a gram. We were celebrating a gram of weight. And we knew something was wrong. We knew we were on the track to figuring it out, and we had peace. Like, when you get this diagnosis, it's scary, it's unknown. You're learning all these words that you've never heard of. And even though we knew we were probably navigating this crazy world of unknown, we were also just like, we had this presence and God was covering us, and we just knew it would be okay. And thanks. And, you know, within that, I will say our biggest thing with this journey is you have to act fast. So we were treating her already, and that was a relief. So then we got to just live in that treatment for 2 weeks. We ended up going home 2 weeks later. And that began our journey of waiting for our genetic testing to come back and confirm the actual diagnosis. But we knew what it probably was. So that was our initial diagnosis journey. Our day-to-day experience with navigating Cobalamin C, we try to keep her as if we're just living our life normal. The biggest thing that we have to make sure is that she gets her medication daily. So she gets 1 injection of hydroxycobalamin, and we do them at night. So that is something somebody gave us advice early on. And I mean, she was tiny at first, slept all the time, but we ended up, we got in this routine of at night, we would give her an injection. She would go to sleep, and we'd, unzip her jammies and just give her injection really quick. And she kind of slept through it. And we always talked about in the beginning, is that okay? Is that right? Is that bad to do while they're sleeping? But our experience so far has been that it's kind of a smooth thing because she's relaxed, so her body is not tense. And even if she wakes up in the middle of it now at 2 years old, she doesn't get bothered by it. Every once in a while she'll kind of wince, but it's not every time, and she goes right back to sleep. So we've kind of kept that routine for her. So we do give that daily injection, and then she also gets betaine 3 times a day. That I would say that was our harder challenge, actually, believe it or not. Giving the shot was the easy side. In the beginning, navigating her actually taking the betaine was very difficult because she would struggle to take medication in a syringe. And it took us about a year to figure out that she had dysphagia, so that she was aspirating on thin liquids. But within that year, I could nurse her normally. We just couldn't give her medicine in a syringe. She would take a bottle, but she had to lay in a certain position, and it had to be a very slow flow. So we would actually have to give her medication in her bottle with more liquid than we would have wanted to. But as she got older, now we're giving her medication in a syringe, about 1 ml of water, actually, believe it or not. And that has become easy. So what we thought in the beginning, we were doing it 4 times a day. We thought it was never gonna end, the just constant giving medication. And it has become seamless. I mean, anybody can give it to her. We pre-measure it so that if our parents have her, or even daycare has to give her 1 dose. Once you develop the system that works for you and your family, it becomes seamless, and it's easy for the kids. She knows she gets betaine. We say betaine, and she takes it with no hesitation. So I think that's something, as they get older, you navigate you know, the challenges in the very beginning, you will get through the routine. Once you get it down, it might change, but if you can just keep the routine for your child, I think it's a lot easier. Our biggest concern with Marley having Cobalamin C is just the unknown of the future. And it's very easy, even with our 4-year-old daughter, to have unknown fear of the future. But with this disease community, we've decided that while we fear the future because it is unknown, the parents and children that came before us on this journey, they had the same fears. So we have learned that we relied on what they went through, which means we hope that people that are ahead of us in the journey can rely on what we've learned through the journey. So just having the fear, we've kind of learned to just erase it because we're here for a reason. We feel like God put Marley on this earth to help other people, and right now we're her avenue of helping others, but one day she's going to be older to be the one actually doing the helping. And it's seeing it on a spectrum of one day you're going to be in somebody else's shoes has really helped us just be at peace with it, and just, you know that everything is going to be okay. Our single greatest hope for Marley's future is just that she's happy, that she can live a normal life, and she has. I mean, you have people that are walking on this earth all around you with different disorders, different just struggles in day-to-day, different things to celebrate, and even though the journey that we're on is so rare and it's so specific, just knowing that our children and Marley she's just living this life just like we all are. So, if she can be happy and she can be anything that she wants to be and be successful and build a future, and just knowing that she can do that, giving her the ability to do that as parents, we're setting her up, but our hope is that she's happy and doesn't feel different, knows that she can be the same. Our greatest hope for the future of children with Cobalamin C is that care becomes standard. We were sent home with, this is your diagnosis and this is how you treat it, with doses of medication that were not actually the highest recommended dose for current protocol. And so our hope is that the lapse between what is standard and not standard goes away, that clinicians are all on the same page, that when you look up this diagnosis and you're first given, they always say don't Google your diagnosis, but most families do. Well, you're gonna pull up old literature that has old recommendations, and restricting your protein, that's outdated. Now they're telling us not to. A low dose of B12, well, that's outdated. Now it's a high dose. Just making that standard will be a game changer. We had an ER visit for our daughter. She had a UTI, and it really threw her body out of whack. And genetically, they weren't worried about her at all. But the geneticist that was on call, she was not a metabolic specialist. She was recommending us to stop feeding her, to start putting her on these medications, to stop or restrict her protein. And really, I had to step in and say, I respectfully don't agree with you, But I had to have the knowledge to do that. And I don't think families should have to have that knowledge to tell a doctor that what they're saying is wrong. So I think just standard treatment for everyone would be amazing, and access to the medication too. We really struggle with that. And, you know, across the country, we all have different pharmacies, and we've struggled with some pharmacies use different formulations. So like their base, it's more acidic, so then their shot burns their baby's legs. If your shot's burning your child's leg, then, you know, it could be better. It doesn't have to. So just making common ground for all of us so that it's not difficult and it's easy to understand, you know, how you're treating your child.